You are tampering with forces you can't understand. We have major corporations sponsoring this event.
The Purple Rain Fantasy Show is a proud member of the Full-Time Fantasy Podcast Network that includes Jim Day of FF Champs, Bob Lung of Big Guy Fantasy Sports and creator of the Consistency Magazine, Anthony Servino of FF Face Off and Gridiron Experts, Adam Ronis, Dr. Roto of SiriusXM, and many more great people and podcasts, so be sure to check them all out at fulltimefantasy.com. If you haven't checked out the Full-Time Fantasy site yet, you can sign up for free. Check out all the contests available, including Beat the Expert Leagues. They've got $35 starter leagues, free mock draft world championship, best ball championships, online championship leagues, dynasty world championship, and the granddaddy of them all, the Fantasy Football World Championship in Las Vegas and online at playffwc.com. Full-Time Fantasy also has NFL and MLB fantasy rankings, draft rankings, seasonal rankings, draft kits, ADP cheat sheets, expert articles, and more throughout the entire season. You can also jump into forums. You can find leagues to jump into, teammates to join your crew, mock drafts, much, much more. Bookmark it. Check it out at fulltimefantasy.com. Alright, welcome to the Purple Rain Fantasy Show. I'm your host, Frank B. Find me on Twitter and follow at FantasyWireHQ and online at thefantasyfootballwire.com. You're listening to the home of the casual conversation, no scripts, no hot takes, fantasy football podcast. Thanks for downloading this episode. I appreciate you guys giving it a listen. This is the Fantasy Wire League Series, final episode number 4. If you missed any of the other early episodes, go back, give them a listen, download them, and we discussed league improvements on episode 1. We did some auction draft stuff in episode 2. Episode 3, we talked about cheat sheets, bringing those to your own draft, getting the guys you want to get. But do me a favor, give it a retweet on Twitter, a share onto Facebook, because I don't have Facebook, and tell a friend about the podcast if you like it. I had some DMs on Twitter about music bumps, so hey, listen, man. All my podcasts, I'm going to keep you on your toes with music bumps, intros. I got an extensive library. I'm into music big time, so I go in the stash in the crates for everything, whether it's hip hop, metal, ska, reggae. It doesn't matter. I mean, I love it. So I'll talk music with you any day. Hit me up on Twitter for that. I love the topic of music, cars, all kinds of stuff. But today, like I said, episode 4, we're going to tie everything in for draft day. So this is the month of July. Sometimes, there's some early drafts. I like to push out a draft day as close as I can to the end of preseason. That way you're not picking guys that happen to get injured during the preseason games or what have you. So the further I can get closer, to week 1 of the regular season and do a draft for fantasy, that's the best case scenario for me. Most of the leagues I'm in, and my family league, we go right up to the weekend before kickoff, and that works out pretty good. If you're in a bunch of leagues, like I am this year, I join too many. Every year I do that, but it's fun, and it's always worth it. They all come due on like the same 2 weekends at the end of August, so you're trying to cram in like 4 or 5 drafts, and it's madness. But yeah, just try to push them out late. It helps. When you do the early drafts in July, there's nothing wrong with that, whether it's dynasty or redraft. But then you may have some speed bumps when player A is injured in week 2 of the preseason. But we're going to tie everything into draft day today for your fantasy draft. So let's jump right in and get started here. First topic would be, as a commissioner of your league, update and review your league rules, everything prior to your draft. Get everything set, one final read through of how your league lays out, the rules, the bylaws, the groundwork, everything we discussed in like episode 1. Just make sure everything looks right, it's accurate. Anything you want to tweak or change last minute, if there's any kind of input from the league, suggestions, get that handled. What I like to do on draft day as a commissioner, it's pretty crazy whether you're doing it at a bar, at your house, at a friend's house, at a hotel conference room, wherever you're having your whole draft play out for the day. It's pretty crazy. You get a lot of people in the room. Everybody's drinking, I'm sure, eating. There should be food. And it's kind of like wrangling up people at a wedding for photos. It's pretty hard to get everybody dialed in to get started and go over everything. You know, you got guys straggling in, coming in late, whatever. So what I like to do is make draft day menu cards. I got a printer in town, and what I do is it's like $30, but he'll make me kind of like a Denny's menu 8x10 sheet, right? And laminate it. And in that, I do quick bullet points for like anything new in the league. On the back side of it, I custom made some graphics of everybody's like team names and helmets. It's pretty cool. Just something nice that looks good on paper. But then, yeah, flip it over. You've got new things for the year, any kind of changes in rules or updates, just a quick bullet point, you know, kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I hand those draft day menu cards out at the draft live when everybody walks in. So everybody walks into my family league. They get a swag bag that's pretty much clipboard, draft day menu card, a cheat sheet, just a generic one, because, you know, and everybody, some people don't do their own, which is fine. Some people print out whatever, but just so you got something. I'll do whatever the latest cheat sheet is on like NFL or CBS, whatever the outlet is. I'll have one of them in there for everybody. A pen, pencil, a tracker, like an auction sheet tracker, just a custom sheet that I made on Excel that has your roster positions, and then another chart for your prices paid and like your budget. So if you want to just chicken scratch, follow along with your budget players, you guys can write them in. Everything that you need. You don't have to get up for nothing. If you forgot something, you're covered. I got you set. Everything's in the bag. So I do that, and it's good to go. Everybody should be ready. And then with the cards, you can get everybody in the room, gather around, and just go around the room for questions while everybody's got that draft day menu card in their hand. So somebody's looking at, hey, well, what about rule number? What are we changing here? And you can address anything pretty quick and get on with the draft, because you don't want to spend 45 minutes talking about new rules or get pigeonholed into one topic that, you know, you just it can go on and split hairs for an hour talking about. You want to get in, get out, 15 to 20 minutes, and you're done. Go over the new stuff and on to the draft. Now for the auction drafts, if you guys are doing an auction draft, and I hope you are, you got to have an auctioneer to run the room. Doing it on your own is extremely tough, and I've done it once and found out the hard way how hard it really is. I thought, it's not that bad. I can swing it and make it work, but no way. It's a tough job. If you can have somebody as a dedicated auctioneer, do it. It's worth it. Maybe somebody that doesn't even play, that's not into it, but just to kind of go around the room and keep everybody in line for bidding, taking the bids, the flow of the room. You're going whatever counterclockwise around, nominations, a big voice in the room. Stephon Diggs on the block, $10 just to keep it rolling. So it's off your plate, and like I said, doing it on your own and trying to do your own draft is next to impossible. It's not even worth trying. Get a couple beers in you, makes it even harder. Don't do it. I highly recommend a dedicated auctioneer. You can go the extra mile and get them a hat, a gavel. Oh man, just set them up so they have fun right along with you guys. And what's also nice is if you have the auctioneer have a tracker sheet, he can keep a log for you so you can chart what players went first, second, third, all the way down, what was paid. And when the draft is over, just like a piece of league history, more or less, but also to go back, because if there's any issues post-draft with, well, I didn't pick him, that was somebody else, and that was the 5th round, I didn't pick him till the 6th, you can go back to the auctioneer's transcript, more or less, and go, nope, he had you dialed in, 5th pick, here's what you spent, this was the winning bid. Because sometimes people don't write it down. It's like I said, it's a lot. It can be overwhelming sometimes. If people aren't paying attention, you miss stuff. So Have a dedicated auctioneer. It's well worth it. We talked on the last episode for your cheat sheets. So on your own, prepare your draft sheet, get your finalized one set with your highlighted guys, who you want, any last minute changes, your most up-to-date sheet. So get ready for your guys. Now, when they come off the board or get nominated or bidding, that's going to go any kind of which way. You don't know. So there will be a monkey wrench thrown into your draft. You got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You can stay on track, up until one specific point, but once you get off or your guy gets taken or you lose out on a guy, maybe the one you like gets nominated too early or too late, just recognize it and get back onto track. Whatever your game plan was, you want to stick with it as long as you can. You don't want to get pigeonholed into it, but you got to stick with it as long as you can. And if something screws you up, then roll with it. Come back to your cheat sheet, pick up where you left off. If you've got your guys highlighted, you should be able to jump back into it and go, okay, here's my second pick. He's still there. That's who I'm taking next. If you get distracted, there's so many different scenarios, but just get comfortable, like I said, with being uncomfortable. You'll be fine. Run through it one last time. Make sure everybody's set. Make sure there's no screw-ups. Definitely don't forget to account for injured players, guys that might be suspended. Who knows with this league? Hashtag this league. That's why I always post that on Twitter. But make sure you got everybody checked off, injuries, what have you, so you don't, try to get somebody that's not playing or that's out for the season. That always happens too. Somebody will get nominated and say, hey, he's out for the season. He ain't playing. Oh, yeah, okay. So get those checked off. Get those guys accounted for. You should be okay there. How do you want to build your team? It's a very good question. That's a pretty hot topic. A lot of times on Twitter, I see a lot of different conversations about that. In my opinion, I think it's best to go in with a game plan on what you want to do, whether it's 0 running backs, 0 wide receiver, balanced, best available, whatever you prefer. I stick with it as a base. I'm usually like a balanced approach. I always go balanced or best available. I've been floating between those two. I've done them all, and I think I get my best guys on like a balanced or best available. But never lock into your plan. The best case is keep an open mind and stay open for change. I think if you start with your game plan, you're on a good track. And like I said earlier, something always happens or takes you off course. When the drafting zigs, you zag. Adapt, think on the fly. Have your league's scoring settings kind of handy too. So, if a different guy's up, or just know who you're targeting and why you're targeting them. Scoring can have an effect on the players you're targeting and you're trying to draft too. So just stay open for any kind of change. If you're doing a balanced approach, good. If there's a run on, wide receivers, stick with the run. Get the guy you need to get before they're all gone. Try to look ahead at what, teams are going to do ahead of you. Maybe 3 to 5 spots down from you. What's team B going to do? Try to look ahead. Play a little game of chess. I mean, it's tough to predict, but it's kind of fun too to try to get in somebody's head and go, I bet you they're going after this guy. Nominate him or whatever the case. So, like I said, stick to your plan in the beginning. As soon as it gets derailed or comes off the course, just stay open for change and roll with it. It's the best thing you can do. Like I finished up too, be patient and look ahead at possible team moves. Just make sure you're kind of dialed into the room. Get the vibe of what's going on, the flow of your draft. Every draft is completely different. They all play out a little differently, whether it's runs on positions, certain, spotlight players, different guys, quarterbacks, whatever the case. Every league is different, and it's always changing. So just make sure you're kind of get the vibe of the room, what's going on. Pay attention to people if they're trying to create a run on a position or if they're throwing out nominations just because. When you're not on the clock, think about your next move and maybe one more past that. That's my foundation. I always try to do that, but you never know. Keep a lock in. I mean, you're rolling through your sheet in between nominations or draft picks. So you're kind of lining up your guys. Okay, I'm going to take him next, and hopefully I can get him. If he's not there, I'll take him. But then try to look ahead at what other people are doing. Look who's getting picked. Look who's getting nominated. Just see if somebody's trying to throw out some garbage or BS stuff, and jump in for the bid, run up some bids. I mean, there's so many different strategy kind of plays that you can run with. So pick one and do it, but just really keep a vibe of the room. If you can be dialed in to what everybody's doing and stay a step ahead, you'll come out just fine. Throw some wrenches into the game, like we just discussed, creating runs and changing up the game on people. When it's your turn, if you're kind of open, throw your kicker out, throw a way low guy out, throw a injury prone guy out, throw a guy that might be suspended out, throw out a team, one of your league mates' favorite players, throw out a league mate's favorite team's player. Like, do different things to maybe take the spotlight off of what you're trying to do. Get a run, like I said, creating a run on a position is usually bread and butter for every league, because once they start getting picked and you're, the top 5 to 10 are off the board, people start panicking. Oh, I got to get somebody good before they're all gone. And they'll jump right in, fall in line, and keep that run going. So it'll keep your other guys available just a little bit longer. So do different little things like that. Try it out. Do the best way to do that for me that I've learned is just do some mock drafts online, Sleeper, NFL, whatever your platform of choice is. Try it out. And especially with the auction drafts, I had to practice probably, 2 to 3 times before I got real comfortable with what I was doing in the auction draft when I did it for the first time ever. So just jump in and do it. See what happens. Try some different strategies. It's the best approach. Take your favorite platform, on a boring summer day, or if it's raining out, you can't go outside, do some mock drafts. Keep a little, pad and paper handy and just track how you did. I used to write in strategy A, balanced, and I give myself a grade. Okay, that was a B. That was kind of a B draft. I don't know. I got some good guys. Feel pretty good about it. Next one I would do 0 running back and see how I did. Oh, that one, I grade it this way. And then look back overall and say, well, which one worked the best? Run it like 2 or 3 times, if you want to try it multiple times to see how consistent you can be in it. The best mock drafts, I think for me, I like Sleeper and Fantasy Pros are probably my favorite because they're so fast. You don't have to spend all day or, a couple hours doing the mock draft. And they're really accurate as far as if you're playing against computer bots or other people. It's pretty damn close to get a good feel of how your draft may play out and almost, get right alongside it. So do that. Check it out. Mock draft. This is the hashtag mock draft season, man. Build your bench. Depth. Trade bait. Flyers. Be well-rounded. I like to always address my starters first. You're always going to lead with your best players that they're coming off the board first, of course. But once you get into those middle rounds past, 20, you're hitting your bench, your wide receiver 3s, 4s, running back 3s, 4s, depth. That's where you want to take some chances. Don't neglect the back end of your team. Separate your drafting into like starters and backups and just have a spot, maybe roster one position for like a sleeper or an upside pick. Highlight those on your cheat sheet. Get some guys that could be some good trade bait later. I like to grab some guys that might be favorites of other people in my league. So I know later if this guy starts, maybe has 2 decent games in a row, I could use him for some trade bait for somebody else. Maybe do a 2-for-1 deal for somebody. The 2-for-1's not bad. Maybe I don't think the guy's going to last. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But if it's a fair trade, anytime you can stack 2 players for 1, I think that helps you in trade negotiations. But I like to have some guys as trade bait, some upside, maybe some sleepers, handcuffs, talk trades post-draft just to create buzz. We put up our tradable guys right away in our family league, pretty much. We'll finish the draft and we'll instantly have guys on the block. Here, this guy's available. We always like doing that kind of stuff. So talk some trade discussions. Try to lay the groundwork too for some future moves. Hey, you got player A. I got to get him from you at some point. I'm gonna keep an eye out because I'm gonna send you a trade offer for him. Just get it out there. Maybe it helps down the road and mid-season when you do want to trade with people that they're more, oh yeah, I remember draft day you were saying about that. I think I'd be willing to do that for you. You can come back to it. So it's pretty nice. Just kind of be well-rounded. I think for, like I said, your roster, go after your starters, go after your main guys, plug them in, get them, be aggressive and get them, especially in auction. We talked about that. Spend your money. Do not come away with a surplus. Spend your money and be aggressive. Get the guys you want to get. Past that, kind of step back. Your draft day roster is not going to win you your league. We all know that half of that roster pretty much turns over if you've won your league, come in first, second, or third place. I mean, you flip your roster to death. I think maybe, what would be the average? 2 to 3 guys are your locks that never change. The rest of your guys, I mean, I bust out like 70 plus waiver wire transactions a year. I'm always turning guys over. So if you're like me, you're making moves every week. You want your best matchups out there. So your draft day roster, like I said, it's never going to win you your league, but I totally believe that your draft day roster can get you those first, weeks 1, 2, and 3 wins, victories, and get your record off positive. And that's my goal for draft days always. Just, I want to win my first 3 games. I want to start 3-0, and then whatever happens, happens. Because the first quarter of the season, the first month, it's just crazy. You don't know how it's going to play out. Week 1 is players flash. Week 2, they disappear. Week 3, it's somebody else. Week 4, there's injuries. So that first quarter, the month of September, to me, each quarter is a month. So September, I think, is the hardest month for fantasy because you just don't know what's going to happen. And that's why your draft day roster plays a key, because if you've got your guys good and some upside in there, you can hit on them early. And then typically October is when I'm flipping guys a lot. Trades, waiver wire, additions, subtractions, stuff like that. So look at it in that respect. I think you'll be set. It's a good way to approach your draft day. And I mean, everybody knows, yeah, your opening day rosters don't win you the league, but man, if they can get you on a good start, if you've done the rivalry weeks like we talked about in the prior episodes, those are key too, because you definitely got to beat your rival and get up in your division or overall in the league. That's something you definitely want to do on the positive. And finally, just like we talked about earlier, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like the Marines say, embrace the suck. But talk some trash, have some fun, roll with anything that happens, enjoy the time that you got together with all your guys. Hopefully you're doing it in person. It's the best way to go. But if you're not and you're doing it behind the app or the laptop, it's just as fun. But yeah, talk some trash, get in that chat room and talk some trash, put some comments in there. It's always fun. And you never know, people start getting inundated with the comment bar and they forget their turn, or their time runs down. Oh, I got to pick somebody. Damn it. You never know. It's just fun. So roll with changes, adapt, be flexible, all that good stuff. You'll be totally fine on draft day. Totally fine. But good luck to everybody on draft day. I hope all you guys are successful. So in closing, I wanted to give you guys a nice short episode. I know my goal is always 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes we'll do 60, but in the interest of being quick, I always like a short to the point episode. If I can do that, I never know how long I'm going to talk because I'm not good at forecasting how long I'm going to sit down and rattle off stuff on a podcast. So like I said, my goal is always 30 to 45 minutes. I'll get you guys out of here on a short one, but that's going to wrap up episode 4 of the Fantasy Wire League series. I will have some more podcasts coming before the season starts. And then once week 1 arrives, I'm going to have the weekly pod, Purple Rain Show, every week. I'm going to rotate co-hosts in there. So you got somebody fresh each week. Sometimes I'll be on my own, but we're going to cover the starts and sits every week, the waiver wire targets, the core, fantasy topics. We're going to do that plus everything you need each week, but I'm going to do a new format, completely new. We got to freshen up each year. I never want to run the same stuff out there year after year. So I got a new format. I got some fun stuff coming in there. I like to have some fun with it and have some funny sound drops and everything. So that'll be in there. So follow on Twitter at FantasyWireHQ, and then online bookmark the fantasyfootballwire.com website. On there, I also have the starts and sits every week. I have booms and busts. I've got my Fantasy Pro rankings. I've got blogs. I'm also going to do the blogs for these league series, and I'm going to put them out there starting this week. So if there's anything you want to read or share, they're going to be out on Twitter and on the website. You can share those things with people. Give them a read. Let me know what you think. They're going to be informative, and I'm going to drop one probably each week through July. And if there's anything else that I've missed or that you want to talk about or cover or ask me, I'm open to anything, anytime. DM's always open. Post it on Twitter directly. I'll get back to you for sure. I love the interaction. I always appreciate you guys. And again, thanks for listening. I appreciate you downloading the episode, this podcast series, and following on Twitter. Have a great day. Good luck in your fantasy drafts. And if you need anything or got a question, hit me up anytime.
He gone!
Yeah, all right, this press conference is over.
Go away.
No, it's over, Phil.
Well, please,
It's over.